Hello, and welcome back to the CCNA video series brought to you by ABY Design and Tech. In this video, we're going to have a look at switch virtual interface configuration. So, this video is carrying on from the previous video. So this is going to be the last video detailing the methods that we can use to route traffic between VLANs. And so, on the switch, we would, well, to be fair, switch virtual interfaces, we're only going to be focusing on our switches. So on the switch, we would configure the VLAN. Then obviously we would configure our access ports, assign those ports to our individual VLANs. And then the next series of commands would be configured on our layer 3 switch. So the switch that my laptops plug into, that is actually a layer 3 switch as well. So that's the reason why I can do SVIs on that switch. However, typically what you'll have is that your end user devices, they will plug into layer 2 switches, and then you may have one or two layer 3 switches in the center of your network performing inter-VLAN routing for all of those VLANs. So on those switches, we would first have to enable IP version 4 routing so that we have routing capabilities on that switch with the command IP routing. Then we would just define our switch virtual interfaces, one per VLAN, with the command interface VLAN number. Hence the reason why switch virtual interfaces are also called VLAN interfaces. And it's important to note that in this case, the number does matter. So obviously with the subinterface, the number we give to the subinterface doesn't matter. The reason being is because there's another command to assign that subinterface to a VLAN. However, with the VLAN interface, this number that we enter has to match our VLAN number. So as an example, if I want to configure a switch virtual interface for VLAN 10, I would literally just type in the command interface VLAN 10, and then that would create the SVI for VLAN 10. Then under the SVI, all we do is assign that that switch virtual interface, that VLAN interface, a IP address with the command IP address and then address and then subnet mask. So this is the topology that we're going to use. Again, two laptops. My laptop that I'm recording this video from, this is in VLAN 10. I have another laptop in VLAN 20. And then I would be configuring the SVIs on the layer 3 switch. So VLAN 10, VLAN 20. And obviously VLAN 10, the IP address I assign to VLAN 10 will be 192.168.10.1, and the IP address I assign to VLAN 20 will be 192.168.20.1. Because the layer 3 switch is going to be routing between VLANs, it has to act as the default gateway for those VLANs, so it has to have the same IP address that the hosts use as a default gateway. So now I'm going to pause the video, then the next time you see my screen, I will be at switch 1. So welcome back, guys. I'm now on the CLI of switch 1. Before I do anything, so before I do any configuration, like we should always do, you want to verify. So obviously I'm going to prove to you guys that I can't actually ping that device in VLAN 20. And as you can see, as expected, to be honest, no responses back. So the first thing that I'm going to do would obviously be to configure the VLANs. I've already done that in advance, so I've already got the VLAN configured, VLAN 10 and 20. And then if I do a show run int fa01, as you can see, those are configured as access ports. So now the first thing that I need to do before I configure any VLAN interfaces, I have to enable IP routing for the routing capabilities to be enabled on switch 1. So that command is literally just IP routing. That enables routing on this device, meaning I can use it to route between VLANs. Then I literally, is literally as simple as this. Just configure the VLAN interface. Again, I'm configuring the VLAN interface for VLAN 10, so the number I use here matters. It has to match the VLAN that I'm configuring this for. I assign this an IP address, 192.168.10.1, subnet mask 255.255.0, and then do the same thing for VLAN 20. IP address 192.168.20.1, 255.255.255.0. And just for grins, let me configure this one as well. IP address 192.168.30.1, 255.255.255.0. So I wanted to show you something very quickly. If I do a show IP interface brief, as you can see, VLAN 10 and 20, they're both up. However, VLAN 30 is down. The reason being is because at the moment there are no switch ports which are in VLAN 30, and there are no trunk links enabled on this device which are carrying traffic for VLAN 30. So for the switch virtual interface to be up, we need to have at least one port assigned to that VLAN. Now, let me just make sure that I can ping my device first. So yeah, I can ping my laptop. Let me make sure I can ping the second laptop. I can, so that laptop is in VLAN 20. And if I do a show ARP table, as you can see, the ARP cache will show each host who's in that VLAN as well as their MAC address and what switch virtual interface I can use to reach that device. So now I'm going to bring up my command prompt again. Just issue that same command, ping 192.168. First, let me make sure I can ping my default gateway. Okay, that's successful. Now this is the true test to make sure everything's working. Can I ping that device? And yes, I can. So as you can see, switch virtual interface is even easier to set up than sub interfaces. And if I minimize this and do a show IP route, the switch will actually keep its own routing table. And as you can see, it has a direct connection to those subnets, to the networks, and they are reachable via interface VLAN 10. And as you can see, the C is for connected, L is for local. And the reason why we have L for local, it shows that the router has got a route to its own interfaces in case there's ever any traffic just destined purely for a router's VLAN interface. Sorry, a switcher's VLAN interface. So guys, that switch virtual interface is all done. And as you can see, configuring routing between VLANs is really simple. We've got router on a stick, we've got switch virtual interface, and then we've got the other method which nobody uses, and that's to have a interface per VLAN. If you have enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, then please subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much for watching.